Men, this law will affect you greatly. Men, this law will affect you greatly. What's up, everybody? My name is Key Air, and you are watching The Important Things That Really Matter. Today, men, we're going to be talking about men, this law will affect you greatly. What law am I talking about? This law is called the law of reaping and sowing. You see it in the Old Testament. You see it in the New Testament. Your great-grandmothers and your great-grandfathers knew about this law. That's why many times your great-grandfathers and your great-grandmothers always tried to do people right, because they knew that whatever they do to other people, it will come back to you. All right? So it is written, whatsoever man or woman soweth, that shall they also reap. And so I'm going to give you an example of the law of reaping and sowing in operation today. The law of reaping and sowing was put into operation when this planet was created by the Creator God Almighty. Okay? And so you need to listen to the story, a very, very good story. And there's a lot of lessons that you can learn from the story, and you want to share this with many people so that people know what could possibly happen to you if you violate this law. It is extremely important. So we are talking about the law of reaping and sowing. There was a guy that was wondering, sometimes you have men that a lot of times they may be what you call the Pookies and Ray Rays. And you may have, even if they're not the Pookies or Ray Rays or Chads, you have some people that feel like, okay, they see a man that is involved with his wife, and for whatever particular reason, you have some of these certain types of men. They might be called the Pookies, the Ray Rays, they might be called the Chads, okay? And these are the type of guys that run around and try to screw around with everybody. And these will be the ones that be having kids all over the place. But you have certain people that they will see a friend of theirs or associate of theirs and then decide that because this person is either married to the person or this person is seeing this person, this might be a man's wife or a man's girlfriend. Some men will think, okay, well, since this guy has seen him, they want to be slick and then go behind the man and screw around with his woman. His woman might be his wife. His woman might be his girlfriend, and you just have some of these underhanded, conniving, scheming, underhanded folks that will go behind different people's backs, whether it's associate. They will already know that this person is seeing this person, and then go behind them and screw around with them anyway, and just because they think they slick. So part of the reason I'm telling you this story is to not be influenced by your friends that might be up to this type of stuff with other people, because if you do stuff like this, you can find yourself hurt, very hurt so much so that they might end up having to put you 6 feet up under the ground. If you sit up here and you screw around with somebody who somebody's wife, or you screw around with somebody's girlfriend who they've been together for a while or whatnot, and you try to do it just because you want to be slick and you think it's funny, there's some really sick folks out here in this world. They'll go do that, and then when they catch a bullet in their behind or catch a bullet somewhere else, they think that the person's done them wrong. But anyway, let me get into the story. This is extremely important, so please like, please share, please subscribe. Please like, please share, please subscribe. You want to make sure that many of your boys, many other men find out about this, so send them the video, send links to the video so they see about what can happen to them if they do some of this underhanded stuff. People are even less tolerant of people doing this stuff behind their backs. So let me get into the story. There was a guy. First of all, before I get into it, let me say fair use, fair use, fair use, okay? There was this guy who was married. He had been married to his wife for a good while. And so his friend, this was supposed to have been his best friend, the man had a sense or feeling that somebody was screwing around with his wife. And he had a sense or feeling that somebody was coming by when he was going to work in the morning. Now, I don't know why people think that they're so slick that they will never get caught. There's people in the neighborhood that can tell this man about what's going on in his house after he leaves. I don't know. Some people just stupid. There's people in the neighborhood that can tell a man, when you leave out in the morning, somebody stopped by your house and screwing your wife, okay? Or girlfriend. There's people in the neighborhood could tell you that. If you're in an apartment building, other people will tell you that. Other people will say, yeah, when you gone, I hear all this noise happening in the morning, like somebody screwing around with your wife or screwing around with your girlfriend. And so anyway, there was this guy who was suspecting that somebody was screwing around with his wife. I don't know if somebody in the neighborhood told him or what. But what had taken place was this. He had found out about it somehow or another. So one day the guy got in his car and drove way down the street and made his turn like he was going to work in the morning. And so when he made a turn around the corner like he was going to work in the morning, he made another turn to come down the street, the next street over. Then he parked his car. Then the man walked across the street, down the other way, and came through the alley, and then came through the back end of his house. And he opened the back door of his house and snuck into his house, shut the door quietly because his wife was upstairs. So he came through the back end of his house. He came in quietly so his wife did not hear him. Okay, so this guy was planning on finding out who was screwing around with his wife. So while he was in the rear of the house, and after he had shut the door quietly so his wife didn't know that he was still in the house, he went and got his gun. So he got his gun, he sat down and he waited. And so he waited and waited. And then not too long after he came in through the back door of his house quietly, the doorbell rings. Ding dong, ding dong. So the man, he gets his gun, because this is exactly what he thought. He knew somebody was coming by his house in the morning, screwing around with his wife. So the man, like, okay, so he had his gun with him. He walked slowly up to the door. He looked through the door and guess who he saw at the door? This man seen his best friend at the door. So now this man found out who was screwing his wife when he would leave in the morning. It was his best friend. So guess what happened when he looked through the door and seen that his best friend was at the door? Well, the best friend thought that he had left the house. His best friend thought that he had left the house and went to work in the morning like he normally does. But he didn't know that he came through the back way. That man opened up the door of his house. The man on the other side of the door that was screwing around with his wife, he thought the wife was going to open up the door. But it was him that opened up the door. The man, as soon as he opened up the door, he took his gun and shot him numerous times. They had to call EMS. He was laying on the porch. But no, the man actually survived it. So what is the point that I'm making? If you cannot be an idiot, you cannot be stupid. You will lose your life really, really quick if you're trying to screw around with your best friend's wife or your best friend's girlfriend or your family member's wife or your family member's girlfriend. You can be seriously hurt. I mean, hurt so much to the point to where they bury you 6 feet under the ground. Now, this is not the end of the story. Now, you probably would think that the man had deleted this particular person, because I would have thought that too. But the man had survived. But he had something to remember all the days of his life. He had a gift to make sure that he never did this to another person again. What was the gift that he had? Well, anyway, when the husband shot his friend and they had to call the EMS to take him to the hospital, this man survived. The hospital stitched him up, put him back together again. But now this man has to walk around with a colostomy bag the rest of his life. And you see the law of reaping and sowing in operation. This man has to walk around with a colostomy bag all the days of his life to remind him never to screw around on another man's woman, another man's wife, another man's girlfriends. So what am I saying? I'm telling you, men, I'm telling you, men, to do that stuff, to think you slick. You will find out. It is written in the Bible. There's nothing that's hid that shall not be brought to light. There's nothing that's done in the dark that shall not be brought to light. There's nothing that's done in the dark that shall not be brought to light. And you're seeing a classic example of the law of reaping and sowing in operation.